Hi everybody, welcome back. We're going to complete the stage on the Blitz Puff pastry. So I'm rolling out my Blitz Puff pastry, and I will take a 10-inch circle and I will cut my piece of dough with this as a template. So without further ado, let me start rolling my dough out. A little bit of flour. This dough is about 1 pound of puff pastry. As you see, I'll measure with my template. That's just about perfect. So I've rolled this out to about 1/8 of an inch, which would be just about right. So before I cut this, I need to dot the dough, as it's called, perforate the dough with this particular tool, so it will keep the dough from rising too much. I usually go from the center out, from the center down. Start in the center and go out. That way you don't pick the dough out. Most people, in the next step, this is a good secret for you, don't do this, but I usually do it. I will go from both sides of the dough to do this. And make sure you go right down to the bottom surface, right down to the table, or whatever you're working with. Alright, so here we are. I'm going to use the pastry wheel to trim this out. I could use a knife, but that kind of drags the dough, so I don't want to do that. Take my scrap puff pastry and set it aside, and as you can see, I have the base, the puff pastry base for my Gateau St. Honore. I'll put it on a tray. Be careful lifting it. And my next step when we come back will be to make a pot of choux and then put it on top of this particular base, make my little profiteroles and bake that off, and we'll complete the stage where we have the shell for the Gateau St. Honore all made up. See you in the next segment. Hi everybody, welcome back. If you're getting the idea that the Gateau St. Honore is complex, well, you're right. Complex but not complicated. So the next step is we're making the pot of choux. I have my ingredients ready. I have my water and salt in my little pot where I will be boiling the paste. And I'm going to break up my shortening into small pieces. Bonus question, why am I breaking this up in small pieces? I will bring this onto the stove, and then I will make sure that once the shortening is dissolved into the water, I will add my flour to make the paste. And as soon as we get to that point, we'll come back.
So you're not going to speak?
Okay, so if you can see here, the shortening is all melted. I'll add my flour. Be careful adding the flour because you can get a release of steam that could be dangerous, like so. Make sure that after you do this, you lower your heat put the heat to low so you can cook your paste. So it's important to cook the paste. Don't shut this off until the paste is cooked. We reduce the heat, but we want to make sure we cook the paste. As you can see, I'm agitating and stirring it quite rapidly. Want to make sure all the flour is combined. Usually when it starts pulling away from the sides of the pot, you're pretty much cooked with the paste. You don't want it to be burning inside the pot. Continue to cook it. And we have the paste just about finished. So what I need to do is put this in the mixing bowl on low speed and cool this so I get to the point where there's no steam being released, and I know the temperature is below 140, because if it's higher than 140 degrees Fahrenheit, then we'll be cooking the eggs as we add them. So we're going to cool this now and be back in a second. So the paste is cooled, and now I'm going to begin adding the eggs. It's important to know that you may not need all the eggs, or you may need extra eggs. It depends. What does it depend on? The flour. If it's a strong flour, you'll need more eggs. If it's a weak flour, you'll need less eggs. It's important. But add the eggs a small amount at a time. Wait till the egg is incorporated before you begin adding other eggs. And you probably need to scrape this down in between the addition of the eggs. How do you know when the batter is ready? It has to be the proper thickness. It has to be thick enough so it just drips from the paddle. We'll see that in a few minutes. So here we are, and I've added almost all my egg that the recipe called for. And we'll give this a test to see if it's the right consistency or thickness. So I'll stop it and take the bowl down. And what am I looking for? I'm looking for it just to drop off the paddle, thick enough so it just drops off the paddle. And you can see we have the proper consistency, so it just drops slowly off the paddle. And this is the right consistency. Okay, continuing on, we will apply the pot au choux to the puff pastry. First consideration, make sure there's no flour on your puff pastry. Very important. Otherwise, the pot au choux will not adhere to the puff pastry. And I even take a little bit of water, just a little bit, just to moisten the top of the puff pastry. It will make the pot au choux adhere a little better. Not too much water, just a little bit. So I have my pastry bag here, and I have my pot au choux tube, which is a plain round tube. It's an Atiko tube, number 805. 805 would be the perfect size. I'm going to take my pot au choux and just fill my pastry bag up with a pot au choux, like so. And remember, I have to make the shell, and I need to make small profiteroles. So, the first item that I will pipe will be the outside ring. Now you have to indent about a ½ an inch and give a nice constant squeeze to the ring of pot au choux that we're putting here. Try to make it in one continuous loop. Now I have to do the inside ring. Keep it nice and round, like so. And my shell is ready to put into the oven. So that's going into the oven, and then we'll pipe out the little profiteroles. The oven is at 425. Now, I have to pipe the profiteroles, and these cook at a different rate. That's why I need a separate tray. So my little profiteroles will be like this. So I'll probably need about a dozen of these, but I always pipe out extra because some of them may break. Make sure you have nice spacing in between them, and make sure they're not flat. You have to be elevated above the tray somewhat to drop these out. If you're too close to the tray, they'll be flat and they may not rise. So I have a little bit extra left, so I'll make little little eclairs. Keep them nice and round, not too close to the tray. Okay, we'll put these in the oven, and then we'll wait for about 30 to 45 minutes, and they should be cooked. Once the temperature of the puff paste in the pot au choux begin to rise, I'll turn the oven down to 400. And we'll come back in 30 to 45 minutes to see what the finished product looks like. So here we have the finished product. Came out of the oven a few minutes ago. We have our profiteroles and our eclairs and our shell for the Gateau St. Honore. How do we know when these are finished? Well, if you pick them up and they're nice and light, that means they're finished. If they feel a little heavy, or if you're unsure, break one open. If it's eggy, it needs to cook a little bit more. It should be nice and hollow in the center. Gateau St. Honore, you see the two rings that we piped here. These rings will be filled with hazelnut pastry cream, as well as the center being filled with hazelnut pastry cream. So how does the bottom of our shell look? Nice and golden brown. Beautiful. So we can either freeze these, we can wrap these and freeze these, or we can wrap them and leave them overnight and fill them. It's a very versatile product. So if you want to freeze them, you can probably last for a couple of weeks, something like that. But if you wrap them overnight, they should be used the next day. But in either case, you have an option here as to how you want to handle this. That's the next step, to fill it, to fill the Gateau St. Honore and complete it and finish it with all its decorations. See you in the next class.